is more often than not, national broadcasters just look at the stat sheet and they say, "Oh wow, okay, Javier Assad has a sub-2 ERA coming into this game. He's a guy that he's the guy. He strikes people out. Seeing him strike out 8 people yesterday was wild because that very rarely happens. Yeah, that was a great part of the whole thing. But to your point, right? Like he does have those walk struggles. He had them the first year that he came up, and he's kind of an escape artist in a lot of ways. Like he will work around those walks very well. But 100%, dude. So I totally feel you, right? It gets frustrating because they don't fully understand the narrative sometimes of these individual teams because they have to watch the game on a national landscape. Now, granted, you can do the proper research and dive in and learn, per se, through those fan bases, but a lot of these guys don't take the time to do that, and that's why ultimately you get the product that you do. But Joey, I want to go back really quick. You mentioned the Cardinals and just kind of the structure of this team and what they're doing right now and like how we kind of feel against them. Nobody is lighting the world on fire in terms of statistics. And I think that's the weird thing because Tyler and I talked about this on our last show, and you and I just talked about this here today pre going live. As of this past week, and this number obviously has probably shifted a smidge, but as of last week, the average OPS for the entire Major League Baseball was under a 700. It was a 699. The bats in general this year have not been great for any given team. There's some teams obviously that have more better bats than others, but I'm even looking right now at this Cardinals team, Joey. Nolan Gorman's a 733 OPS player. Paul Goldschmidt's a 643 OPS player. Brendan Donovan's a 675. Nolan Arenado's a 676. For them where they're getting the production? It's the big guns. It's the kids we've never heard of that are their big guns right now. Alec Burleson's almost an 800 OPS player. He's slashing 309, 338, 460. Mason Wynn, 301, 356, 438 for a 794 OPS. Like it's that next wave of Cardinals that always scares the shit out of Cubs fans because they're the next guys that come up and take over for the old guard and continue to torture the Cubs. And that's really what it felt like in this series. Now, granted, some of the big guns tortured the Cubs in this series, right? Arenado got his hits. Goldschmidt on Sunday got a pair of 2-run bombs that ultimately was all the Cardinals needed to win the game. But it really is that way, Joey. I think a lot of people wrote the Cardinals off. More so, I think, because of just where they stood in terms of the pitching. I don't think it was so much the hitting that people were worried about. It really was, in my opinion, the pitching, because you look right now, like even their starting pitching isn't outer worldly. Kyle Gibson's got a 381 ERA. That's respectable. Miles Mikolas has that 564 ERA. Horrendous.
They should have lit him up more.
They should have let him up more. I agree wholeheartedly. Lance Lynn's got a 368 ERA. But like where they're getting the real good stuff is their bullpen. Helsley, 225 ERA. Kittredge, 286 ERA. Jojo Romero, a 130 ERA. And then guys like Sonny Gray in their starting rotation who has a 260 ERA. So like it really is for the Cardinals right now. It's just this weird, they're hot, but it's not necessarily the big guns that are hot. It's some of the other guys, and then the big guns strike when they need to. It's this weird, just mosh pit of people for St. Louis right now that's getting the job done. And I think that's what makes this incredibly frustrating is just, like Jeremiah says, we need a hero. They're getting heroic efforts from some of the weirdest guys on their roster, the guys that you wouldn't expect coming into the series. And we're really starting to see it, I think, from an overall standpoint. But Joey, enough about the Cardinals. Let's focus more here on the Cubs, because Hank brings up an interesting comment here, and this is something that I want to hear your thoughts on, because I've been doing a lot of mulling over on this over the last couple of days, especially with some of the posts I've seen on social media. But Hank says Jed Carter's reluctance and cheapness to get a big bat in the offseason is really stinging right now. And I have thoughts. I tend to agree, truly. I want to know where you're at in this whole standings here. I know it's only the end of May. I know there's a lot of baseball still to be played. But it does feel like there was a little bit of maybe the Cubs could have gotten that one more bat. a little more established. Maybe they could have traded some of this prospect talent, right? Like eventually you got to start moving prospect talent if they're not going to come up and be a part of the big league future. And, do you think Jed and Carter's reluctance to pursue that big back is hurting the Cubs right now?
Yes, I do. Couple different ways I think about this. I wanted them to go out and get, Juan Soto was kind of my go out and take other people's money whole spiel.